Hey there, guys. So I'm at the Vulcan in Oakland, California, which I reckon in the fire spinning world is about the closest thing we have to either Graceland or Mecca. Mikey says hi, by the way. And pouring through a whole bunch of thoughts on the massive debate on inversions and introversions that is currently going on in the Tech Boy group on Facebook. Buckle up, this is going to be a long post. Also, I will be the first to admit I do not have solutions to a lot of the questions that are being posed on the group. This is just my kind of thinking out loud as I'm kind of charting through it. So to start with, one of the things that we've been playing around with in that debate is, you know, this is a 3-beat weave. We all know this very well. And, you know, if you are into kind of rev speak for inversions and introversions, you'll be thinking of a movement like this as being a 3-beat weave that has an in-swing on either side of it, right? Fundamentally what we've done is we've altered it such that rather than always having the poi charting a plane around our body, there's now a point at which the poi swings through what's really like a little negative space gap between our arm and our body, right? Now, a very interesting suggestion has been offered up by Arashi and Alien John in the course of this debate, which is that we stop really thinking about how the poi are relating directly to our bodies and start more thinking about the shape that's being created in the process. So even though I've added a pair of in-swings to this 3-beat weave, fundamentally if we were to just watch the movement of the poi in space, there'd be barely any alteration between that shape and this shape, right? Also, if I were to take this shape, there's almost no difference between it and a 3-beat weave. There's a point at which my left hand is on top, at which my right hand is on top, and fundamentally each poi head is getting 3 downbeats in the course of the shape. This, of course, is something that Alien John's been playing around with for years. I'll show you it on the side. And it consists of splicing together a 5-beat weave and a 2-beat weave. Though fundamentally, if we were to look at it in 3-dimensional space, it's the exact same shape as this. Now, in playing around with these, normally we're used to thinking about the poi head in the hand in 2-dimensional space as being the product of what's really a pair of oscillations in two axes, right? We've got the poi head going around the hand, and it's, you know, completing an oscillation in however many seconds it takes. And then when we add it into a flower, we've got the hand creating an oscillation in 3-dimensional space as well. And in this case, when I have a 4-petal flower, I have 3 oscillations of the hand for every one, 3 oscillations of the poi for every 1 oscillation of the hand, right? Now, in order to get the same number of oscillations in in-spin, I'm going to have a 2-petal in-spin, right? And of course, what we discover then is if you do something like take a 2-petal in-spin and turn it into a body tracer, it turns out that it's the same thing as a 3-beat weave once again. When you're turning it into a 3-beat weave, what you're doing is you're restricting the oscillations of the hand and turning them into what would more appropriately be called a lateral oscillation rather than the radial oscillation that we see in the case of an anti-spin flower, right? So, with that in mind, that means that when you're utilizing a lateral oscillation, the body can be in many, many, many different orientations in relation to the poi, right? And in playing around with this, Corey actually posted a really fascinating video showing that you could actually have a cross point, a point at which the poi switches sides. It doesn't actually switch sides on the body, which is a really fascinating concept. And having played around with oscillations, we usually, in my poi simulator, when we play around with 3-beat weaves, what we think we're looking at is a pattern that has a single cross point in front of us, but that's not actually the case. There are 2 cross points for each hand as we're performing the 3-beat weave. If you think about it, when you're doing 2 rotations on one side, you're actually adding a second cross point. This one is like back past your shoulder, right? So there's the cross point that we all know and love that's directly in front of us if we're doing a 2-beat. But if you add the second rotation on one side, you're adding a point at which it's breaking out of this kind of V shape in front of you and becoming a straighter shape on the side, which means that there's a cross point right here where it switches from the V shape to the straight up lateral shape and then back to the V shape out of it, right? So with that in mind, I thought I would try doing an experiment similar to Corey's and see if I could create a 3-beat weave that only stays on one side of the body, and that essentially would utilize that cross point back behind the shoulder instead of the cross point in front of the body. And this is what I got. Which is weird because it feels like half of an introversion or inversion. Sorry, I always get those terms confused. Wherein essentially the hands produce a hyperloop, right? And this is interesting to me because some people have suggested that in inversion/introversion, I'm sorry, I can't keep the terms right, I know it's adding to confusion, please forgive me, is being an analog to a 3-beat weave, and yet it's clearly not. It's an analog to a 5-beat weave. If you count the number of downbeats of each poi head as it's going through this movement, it turns out to be 5 rather than 3. Whereas if we take half of the movement right here, we do bring it down to a 3-beat. It just so happens to be a 3-beat where the main cross point is back past the shoulder on the side that we're doing it, right? And once again, it has all the diagnostic characteristics of a 3-beat in that each of the poi heads has 3 downbeats, and there's a point at which the left hand is on top, and there's a point at which the right hand is on top. So, I'm going to keep coursing through this debate and see if I can add anything of substance. I don't know if I will or not, but yeah, anyways, fascinating thoughts. I hope you guys find them as interesting as I do. And thanks, take care, and there's much more to come. Peace.